Welcome to my first ever Facebook Live video. So my name's Julian Venables. I've been an astrologer for many years, and just chatting with a friend, Tim Williams, who I do believe, hoping will join me on this if he can get into the video. How's it going, Tim? Is it happening for you yet?
I'm in the messenger room, but it says unable to join at this time. So are you definitely on?
I am definitely. I think I think it's on. Yeah, I think this is on. Yeah. So pretty
Okay,
certain it is.
just go ahead.
All right. Okay. Um, but I just want to see if I can see a bigger screen of myself or anything. I'm not sure yet how to share a screen either. Um, so this is all quite new, but I will tell you what I'm seeing with Vladimir Putin's chart, because of course he is really a great concern to the world at the moment. Everyone wants to know what's going on with Putin. And of course, as an astrologer, I do believe with astrology we can have deeper insights and deeper reveals as to his motivations and what's kind of happening. So I'm just going to give you a sort of some insights into what I've seen with his chart. And I don't know whether you can see this or not. Can you see the chart, Tim, by chance?
No.
No. I'm wondering if I can do a share screen. So, there must be a method of this. Expand video. There we go. That might help. That expands the video. Okay. So anyway, without wasting any further time.
On the bottom of your picture.
Say again, Tim.
You've got 5 buttons on the bottom of your picture.
Right.
You've got and it's there. It's the first one. Share your screen.
Really? Okay, then show all controls. That might help. And then there's the 3 buttons here. Picture in picture. What do you think? Picture in picture might help.
Well, it says share your screen.
No, I don't think that does help. All right. I can see the live screen, but I can't see. Oh, there we go. Oh, that's a feedback loop. All right, so I'm going to do Vladimir's chart, and I'm not going to waste any more time because I've got to get into this and tell you all about it. So, if I've got the chart which I'm going to be looking at, so I'll be telling you what I'm seeing. Okay. Primarily, Vladimir Putin is a very, what we would call in astrology, a 12th house character. That is to say, he has a lot of unconscious things going on behind the scenes. The 12th house is very much a person who keeps things to themselves. They like their seclusion. They tend to be quite hidden away. The 4 planets in his 12th house are the Sun and Saturn, Neptune and Mercury. Now, they're all in the sign of Libra. And Libra, of course, is the peacemaker. It's quite meant to be quite balanced and peaceful, graceful and tactful. But when it's hidden in the 12th, he has all those possible things, but he doesn't necessarily use them because he might not be fully aware of how to use them. So first things first is really a Sun in Libra. He's got it conjunct Saturn. And a Sun-Saturn person is likely to be very ambitious, but find that they get blocked a lot of the time. That his whole life has probably been felt like he's been blocked by what he wants to do, because Saturn, by its very nature, tends to be limiting and restricting. So he's probably always felt to be bound by the rules, bound by the laws and orders, which one might say, why has he invaded Ukraine then? Well, there's a lot more to this than just meets the eye, because you see, the Sun Saturn is also in a square, which is a point of tension. So the sense of limiting, blocking, and restricting is tensely abrased, shall we say, by the planet Uranus, which is in the sign of Cancer, the crab, a water sign of emotion. And it's in the 9th house. And the 9th house is to do with foreigners or going abroad or foreign things or crossing territories. So with Cancer with Uranus in Cancer in the ninth, squaring Sun Saturn in Libra in the 12th, then you have a lot of thinking going on for him, a lot of musing of things. I'm also bringing the Mercury in there, but which is also in the 12th in Libra. But that Saturn square Uranus has been strongly activated recently, and it's the attitude of someone who might say something on the lines of, "I don't give a damn," and in a way that might be kind of what's possibly been going through. He just wanted when you think back to some of the things he's done in the last few years, for example, the Novichok poisoning, also Litvinenko poisoning as well. These were things that were done abroad, where he didn't really claim responsibility for it, didn't really put himself as as the person who gave the orders to do those sort of things. So there's a little bit of the sort of almost anarchic outrage because of the Uranus in the Cancer, the Crab in the ninth house is a little bit of that kind of freedom to do what they want. Uranus in the ninth is like, I believe this, I'll do this, and I don't care what anybody says. And that, in a way, is also can be seen in his chart in another planet, which is Mars in Sagittarius. And he's got Mars in Sagittarius in the second house. And a Mars in Sagittarius is like a crusader. It's like, right, this is what I believe in, and this is my, it's like a militant or missionary tendency towards exaggeration and overestimation of the self. And I think that is the key to why he's done all this, the sort of like crazy action type stuff, making an invasion of his, of the old Mother Russia, as it were. What he's done here is, he's been kind of, in a way, he's been acting very arrogantly. And again, that's the Mars in Sagittarius. So what's been happening there? I mean, you've got Neptune by transit in Pisces coming up gradually, starting to square that Mars, which would be ultimately actually undermining it. But some of the other things that have been going on is in this with that Mars is, if we look back at the recent past, then he had a Mars return on the 19th of January this year. That could have reset things for him. He might have suddenly thought, "Oh, I know what I want to do." I think it's time to do that. Something of that nature. So that was the first thing. In the 19th of January, he had a Mars return. But the other thing is been going on is what else? The transits he had to Mars. Oh, that's what I wanted to tell you. He's had what we call a sesqui-square to Mars from the planet Uranus, which is currently in Taurus, in his 7th house. So, and Uranus has been building up to do that throughout 2021. The last sesqui-square was on the 28th of February, which is just a couple of days after the invasion. So Uranus was pushing on his Mars. And as I said, that Uranus, that anarchic, slightly, I don't care, I'm going to do anything I want attitude, particularly with regards to crossing borders or territories, has pushed onto his Mars, which was his crusader zeal. And with Mars in Sagittarius, decisions are often made very spontaneously. It's a fire planet in a fire sign. Sagittarius isn't known for its caring qualities either. It's a bit excitable. It's a bit like the horse who gallops towards the horizon. And if it's a righteous issue, they can't be challenged, or their mind can't be changed. So it's a sense of, a hurt sense of justice, or something like that. He's like, wow, they made me, almost a bit like, it's kind of in a way making it's kind of having a spontaneously aroused desire for something. Mars in Sagittarius in his 2nd house, and at times I think it's got him probably quite close to what should we say? You know, Sagittarius is like a horse, that it symbolically is the horse. It's champing at the bit, you know. He's like, let me at him kind of stuff. So there's that enthusiasm type of thing. And wants to motivate and sweep others along, you know, with his impulsiveness. So when Uranus came along throughout 2021, it was building up the pressure, and suddenly it pops. 28th of February was the exact one, and I think the initial invasion was the 24th. So there you go. It's a sesqui-square. A little bit more on the sesqui-square is it's an aspect of agitation. Okay, so it's like willfulness, and it's also like extremism of behavior. So in a way, you're looking at that sense of the almost anarchic, not really caring, and definitely not being very planned, Martian-like attack that enshrines his beliefs and his holy sense of anger. You know, like that part of Ukraine, you know, Ukraine used to be Russia, and it should be again type of attitude. And that's so. I think the sesqui-square, which is not often talked about in astrology, but it's a very potent aspect. It is 135 degrees, so it's a square, which is 90. Everyone knows about squares. If you know any astrology, you know about the square. So it's a square and a half a square. So it's 90 plus 45 degrees. So it's a square and a half, 100 equaling 135 degrees. In his chart, Uranus is in Taurus, and it is made this slightly agitating aspect across to Mars. Now, a little bit more about Uranus in Taurus. We don't know much about Vladimir's private life. I mean, he's 4 planets in Libra, hidden in the 12th. And he's got, Jupiter in Taurus as well. He was married for many years. He brought up his children. I'm not completely certain about all this, but I do know through what I have found out is that he divorced recently. So that is a classic Uranus transiting the 7th house. When Uranus crosses the descendant, divorce can be very, very likely. And of course, Uranus is just right now opposing his Venus. His natal Venus is at 11 degrees Scorpio in the 1st house. He has the Scorpio ascendant with Venus very close to the 1st house. So, 1st house cusp on the ascendant. So here is someone who is with a Venus in Scorpio person, is a classic example there of the seductor. Someone who has very deep passions, very powerful emotions, and also quite good at manipulation. The Venus in Scorpio is quite good at that. They can work a group, or they can work people specifically to be in their favor, to charm them. It's a deep, passionate charm, because Venus actually is not particularly happy in Scorpio. She's happy in the 1st house. She quite likes being there, but she doesn't necessarily like being in Scorpio. She's in her detriment in Scorpio. She's a long way away from where she would like to be, which is Taurus, across the chart, opposite. So Uranus comes along and bingo, hits the Venus. I'll just tell you when that happened, or when it's about to happen. So we've got Uranus coming in to make the opposition to Venus on the, it's about to happen actually. We've got it on the 5th of March. So that was just 5 days ago. That had also been building up in 2021. This was the last aspect, Venus opposite Uranus. Now, the question here, of course, is the irresistible temptation of Venus in Scorpio, the unfathomable passion of Venus in Scorpio, the dark irresistibility of use of power. So Venus in Scorpio, of course, would be the person who would really like to see the military in action, because Scorpio is a Mars-ruled sign. So when Venus is in Scorpio, and Venus rules his 7th, and Venus also rules the 4 planets in Libra in the 12th, that Venus is extremely hinged on how he approaches the world and how he's seen by the world. And people often say, this guy's dodgy. You know, a hidden, passionate, intense Venus in the first house has again been unleashed. I think, I think what's happened here is he had the stable, steady family life for many, many years, and it's all over. And he's now kind of unlocked all that deep type of passion, and it's going a bit doolally. So yes, there is a definite kind of, I think, probably quite a strong mental health issue going on here for him, because he did have a very stable, responsible life, being a dad and having his wife who probably kept him in his place, because he's got the 7th house descendant in Taurus. He's got Jupiter in Taurus. There's a lot there that says stability, wanting actual stability. And now he doesn't have that anymore. It's gone. So there's that part of him that's going, what shall he turn to instead? And that's that Uranian influence that's then making everything go a little bit crazy or high wire. So Uranus opposes Venus. Now, the thing I had to tell you about next is the fact that we've got an eclipse season coming up soon. And eclipses in astrology are absolutely the biggest, hottest, reddest buttons you could ever press. Now, don't get the wrong idea, by the way, because I don't think he's going to do anything, and I don't mean to give that impression either. I don't think he is going to do anything too bonkers, because I think from looking at the chart, I've studied the chart now for a while, I think he's probably regretting doing what he's done. I think there's probably a lot of regret, and I'm going to get onto that in a minute, but I want to tell you about the eclipses first. So the eclipse is the one coming up next. There's a solar eclipse on the 30th of April 2022, so that's, you know, in about 6 weeks time, and it's at 10 degrees Taurus. Okay, so there's a new moon in Taurus, and with triggering an eclipse, and that eclipse is going to be 1 degree opposition from his natal Venus, and it's 1 degree sesqui-square his Mars. So once again, we've got the Mars, we've got that sesqui-square taking, firing off again. Uranus did it first time around, across to Mars, to Sag, and now that eclipse is taking pretty much the same place to do it again. Another thing about sesqui-squares is one gets having to deal with the consequences of a lack of composure and self-restraint. So here is someone who's gone a little bit bonkers, and he's been given all the freedom because he's not tied down to his family life anymore. He's and what's surfaced is stuff he never resolved about the idea of Mother Russia. A lot of that is to do with the fact that he's got that sort of Mercury, Neptune in Libra, again that Mars in Sagittarius. There's so much here about I think that sort of haunts him a little bit about his previous days. He's always been a power player within Russian government, KGB, various things like that. And so that new moon eclipse that's going to be happening is at 10 Taurus, and at the moment the nodes are about to reach the north node. The north node's about to reach his Jupiter in Taurus, and he's about to get nodes square the nodes, because his natal nodes are at 19 Aquarius and 19 Leo. So he's about to get nodes square the nodes, which is often a big changing point in destiny. So the first eclipse, the eclipse fires his Venus, it goes right opposite his Venus. Now, if I was to say really what I think might happen, I'm going to round it up with what I think might happen, but at the end. But I'm keeping this quite contained. The really big thing I want to tell you about, which I think is really obvious, is that Saturn is coming up. Saturn's in Aquarius. It's transiting his 4th house, and it's transiting his 3rd house still. It's about to cross an angle of his chart, and that is really serious, really life-changing. And it's crossing his North Node in Aquarius at 19 Aquarius, and then it crosses his 4th house cusp, which is called the Nadir, or also known as the IC in astrology, which is at 21 Aquarius. So Saturn crosses his North Node and then his IC. And Saturn is the planet of karma, and I think he's about to get a big karmic payback. Okay, it's a thing that he can't avoid. The dates that's happening on are let me just get that for you. Wait a sec, I've got to find it. It's there it is. So it's Saturn conjunct the North Node. Saturn squares the nodes and Jupiter on the that's yesterday, the 9th of March. The 11th of March, Saturn conjuncts the node. That's tomorrow. And then Saturn crosses his IC on the 23rd. And that, I think, is the end of the war. Right? 23rd of March. Because Saturn crosses the IC, and this is where things are dealt with. So, all the responsibilities, everything that just goes, it all just rings true at one point. And it's his 4th house, which is the Kremlin. If he's living in the Kremlin or he's living in there, then the Saturn comes around, and it's March 23rd. That, I believe, will be the end. Because Saturn is in his 12th house of his chart. It is conjunct his Sun. It is square Uranus. It's also conjunct Neptune. The 12th house in traditional astrology is called the house of self-undoing, and he has Saturn in the 12th. So his Saturn is a planet of self-undoing. I'll give it that it's, of course, it's actually in its joy in the 12th, which is why he's been a world leader. It's also exalted in Libra, but that shows ultimately that he has to keep the balance in life. And so when Saturn crosses the 4th house cusp is known in traditional astrology as the end of the matter. The end of the matter. It's all over. What we're understanding from when I watch the news and understand the media reports is that everything is extremely badly organised. Like really badly organised. Like he's got not a clue what he's doing. So he's done all this because he's had his divorce. It's affected his public life hugely, and it's upset all his sense of he's got his crusader's zeal has really been fired off. But now, because the eclipse will oppose his Venus and Saturn will cross his IC, I think he's just going to give in. Now, it could be that I mean, this is what I'm seeing in the symbols. So if you want a prediction, my prediction is a member of his own staff will shoot him. There you go. I said it. But I don't think it. I think that's probably what's going to happen. Just because that's all it takes. It could be a medium-ranking officer, in the Kremlin, who just pulls out a pistol and says, "Sorry, Vlad, it's all over, mate," and does it. And he's got Pluto on the midheaven, South Node on the midheaven. He's got on his MC in Leo. He's had so many intense aspects going on, and it's not because he's necessarily mad, but he has actually pitted his own countrymen against themselves. There's a lot of I think the matter needs to be solved internally with his own people. Yeah, it's not going to be. There's nothing that NATO will get in. Well, I mean, NATO. There's a huge thing going on here, of course, with all the refugees and NATO standing at the borders waiting for action, and But I think it's the actual issue here will be solved by his own people. And the new moon eclipse, April 22nd, that's coming up, will oppose his Venus. His Venus holds so much in his chart, and I think it might be one of the people he actually trusts, who just says, "Sorry, mate, done, finished." And that would be my prediction right now. I don't think he's going to do anything extreme. I think he's got a lot of empty threats because he's having to deal with the consequences of having a little bit of a mad turn. All right, and that is kind of what's going on. I also heard rumours, and I don't know about this, but that he had or has been diagnosed with some sort of health issue, and that could also be part of the whole problem, that he might be having. So that's another thing to consider there. He's got Chiron in the 6th house at the moment, and I've got to actually put the Chiron in. A sec. I'll just find out where his natal Chiron is. He's got Chiron in the 3rd house in Capricorn. So he's had Chiron square Chiron recently. That means probably to me is that the giving of orders that aren't working anymore. I mean, he's given orders, but it's also, again, Chiron being the kind of wounded healer, the one who's been rejected, and I think he might be rejected by his own staff and the people closest to him. So that's probably quite possibly what will happen if I was to predict anything. So, but it might not happen till March. I'll just give you those dates one more time. The 2 dates that I think are really key to this is Saturn crossing his Ic, a very important aspect of the chart where it brings everything down to the deepest emotional needs. Saturn being cold and distant, so even his home life, well, as in the people in the Kremlin, are becoming cold and distant to him. That's the 23rd of March. Saturn then does actually go on to oppose his Pluto. I mean, to add, make it even worse, Saturn opposes Pluto on the 9th of April. I mean, it could be that it carries on. 9th of April, Saturn opposes Pluto, followed by, Chiron opposite the Sun on the 29th of April, 30th of April. I mean, these are very karmic retribution going on here. There's a lot saying that he's just not going to be able to carry on the way that he does, the way that has happened. So I think this is a huge error on his part. I can't see anything here in the chart that would make me think he's going to be successful. I think that the eclipse. So the eclipse seasons can usually start anything up to say a month before. So that eclipse is the 30th of April. So we're looking at, any time from the 23rd, 24th of March, I would say is a key date. Now, people say that this chart, that Vladimir Putin's chart, is not accurate, just like a KGB agent would be. Yes, it's not real, but maybe it probably is, because I see the chart of someone who's done bonkers things like the poisonings and all that sort of stuff. It's quite clear in the chart, actually. And if he has divorced Uranus in his 7th, well, there you go. I mean, it ain't going to be clearer than that, is it? That is exactly what has happened. So I think we've got there pretty much everything. Now, that's just some ideas for you. I hope you enjoyed listening in, and let's have a look. People are saying I will post this chart on Facebook. Yes, thank you. Absolutely, I will put it all on Facebook after this, so you can have a look at it, and I'll also put it on YouTube. I predict that he won't last much longer, folks, and there's nothing really major to worry about. Because ultimately, I think he regrets what he's doing, but he won't. To save face, he won't show that to people, and so there we go. All right. I think the eclipse I think Saturn crossing the angle of his chart is a big problem, right? That's going to really stop anything. End of the matter. From the house of Saturn's in the house of self-undoing. You know, and the eclipse opposite is Venus. Venus rules everything in the 12th and rules his Jupiter, and the nodes squaring the nodes. He's made a big mistake. He knows it's the end of his time, and he's going out with a bang. Yeah, but not like that scary bang that media's talking about. More of a kind of, you know, someone take him out sort of stuff. You know. Which is quite Russian, to be honest. You know, their politics is like that, isn't it? You know, if the leader fails the people, then it's going to be a quick end. So, well, there we go. I hope you enjoyed my little presentation there. And I shall do more of these, I think. It seems to work reasonably well. And I will put this on YouTube. And, of course, I have to advertise at the end there that I give readings. If you're interested in getting a reading from me, get in touch via my Facebook or send me an email or something like that. Message me on Facebook. And I will hopefully do something again soon. And I would also like to thank my very good friend Tim Williams, because he has helped me today. He told me I should be doing a Facebook Live video. And you know what? I did. So thank you, Tim. Very kind. And I hope everybody enjoyed this, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now. Have a good day. I don't think there's much to worry about. I think it's all going to be all right.